Hey everyone, it's Kong again, and this is a pleasant surprise. It's another crossover episode of Should You Summon. Nevertheless, as always, I'll be presenting high-level overviews using these two criteria to help you decide whether this crossover banner is worth your hard-earned vouchers and crystals, how these characters fit into your team, and what kind of content they get used for. Since this is a crossover event, we can get the other two usual criteria out of the way in advance. First, these characters don't unlock any bonds for any other characters, and none of them rely on anyone else for bonds. They just need to be upgraded through their various class trees. Easy. Second, these are limited heroes, so they're not going into the general summoning pool. Unless the event gets a rerun, this is our last chance to summon for them. And this is the rerun. We're not far enough along in the life cycle of this game for an event to show up a third time, so we don't really know if multiple reruns will even be a thing. So chances are we won't be able to get these characters for a long time, if ever, after this banner expires. So, the fine print out of the way, this week we're looking at the return of the crossover raid-up banner featuring Sakura and Sumire from the Sakura Wars franchise. This banner runs from February 18th to March 3rd, and it's not a Destiny banner, so it's definitely possible to summon off-banner heroes even on the very first SSR that you pull. As a bonus, at the end we'll also take a quick look at the free SR healer that you can get from the accompanying Secret Realm event, Iris. But first we'll start with Sakura. Sakura is a relatively straightforward DPS unit. She's one of the early units whose kit was characterized by messing around with fixed damage and healing reversal, but those effects aren't really as oppressive as they used to be. Her talent increases all of her non-HP stats by up to 10% each time she kills an enemy, up to a maximum of 40%. And if she has more skill than the enemy, she attacks first. Her 3-cost skill is a 2-ring physical AoE that inflicts the cannot be healed debuff and some fixed damage, and loads her up with 2 stacks of her talent stat boosts. She's a member of Empire's Honor, buffed by Bernhardt, Leon, Lance, and Rosenseal, Heroes of Time, buffed by Joshua, Angelica, and Yusuke, and Protagonists, buffed by Matthew. For content, in PvE she's technically on faction for Phoenix and Valkyrie in Eternal Temple, and Hugin and Munin and Sleipnir in Ancient Beckoning, but she honestly really doesn't bring much to the table against HP sponge super bosses. Most bosses tend to be immune to her most annoying effects, so she really just is kind of a normal unit in those fights. She's also not really the threat she used to be in PvP either, even with the recent addition of her 3C skill. To be honest, the content where she probably sees the most play these days is in the auto battle AI arena, since she can be set to rush in with a Letitia sprint, and then use her long line attacks to mess around with a bunch of enemy healing before they can really do anything about it. Probably not a reason to build a whole character from scratch, but if you like the character or if you like the franchise, then fill your boots. Next up we have Sumire. Sumire is an odd little tank with a couple of options for tanking skills. Her talent increases her attack range by 1, and increases her attack and skill as her soldiers die off, so she can be comboed with Angelica if you'd like to go that kind of Mimi route. Her guard skills are triggered by using her big AoE attacks. The 2-cost one gives her a 1-time self-revive and barb. Her 3-cost skill increases her range by +1 again, and makes her attack first if she has more skill than the enemy. This can turn her into a mean distant countering skill tank. She's a member of Empire's Honor, buffed by Bernhardt, Leon, Lance, and Rosenseal, Heroes of Time, buffed by Joshua, Angelica, and Yusuke, and Princess Alliance, buffed by Luna and Shelfaniel. For content, in PvE she's technically on faction for Leviar and Valkyrie in the Eternal Temple, and Sleipnir and Needhog in Ancient Beckoning, but again, she's not really the best option for those big bosses. As a mechanically unique tank though, she has fared a little bit better than her banner mate in the PvP longevity department. She's not exactly a meta unit per se, but with some investment I have seen a few people try to use her and the unfamiliarity effect for nasty surprises. Other tanks definitely do bring more to the table, and there are more of them out there than ever, so it's hard to recommend her as a primary option, but you do you. Finally, let's talk about the event freebie Iris. You don't have to worry about summoning Iris, since she's just an SR tier character who's available for free as part of the Secret Realm event, so I will keep this brief. Oh, by the way, if you don't see the event immediately upon logging in, don't panic. These events often start a week after the banner drops. In fact, that's probably exactly why this banner was pushed ahead by a week, so the accompanying event could still run its course without crashing into the new EOL cycle with Hilda and Werner. Anyway, believe it or not, Iris is probably the star of this banner, even though she's not actually on the banner. Her talent is kind of a mini budget tiaras. It grants nearby allies a buff that heals them after they take action. It's not every time they get attacked, so it won't give your tanks infinite sustain, but it is a little bit of ongoing healing, so that's nice. Her other quirk is a bunch of teleport skills. She has a self-teleport called Dolly that splashes healing around her. She also has a teleport skill that she can use on an ally called Jardin d'Iris, which increases the teleported ally's damage dealt, reduces their damage taken, and lets them ignore terrain mobility penalties. So this is a very common slingshot skill used in rush teams to get DPS and tank busters into striking position. Her brand new 3-cost skill is the amazing Jean-Paul, named after her teddy bear. It's a juiced up version of Dolly, basically. It teleports Iris and does a big AoE heal and dispels 3 debuffs from everyone in range. It then gives her 3 turns of area healing and debuff removal after acting. She's a member of Empire's Honor, buffed by Bernhardt, Leon, Lance, and Rosenseal, Heroes of Time, buffed by Joshua, Angelica, and Yusuke, and Princess Alliance, buffed by Luna and Shelfaniel. So this puts her on faction for Leviar and Valkyrie in the Eternal Temple, and Sleipnir and Needhog in Ancient Beckoning. She's actually great against Sleipnir because she can eject endangered units into the proper L formation, giving you a little bit more room for error. She's also still a strong meta option in PvP, especially as debuffs start making a comeback in Season 7. If your Rosenseal gets banned, then Iris can be a way to dispel a lot of debuffs at once. She is good. So here's the quick and dirty. We have Sakura, who is a DPS with heal blocking and fixed damage, and she's a solid option for AI arena rush attacks. We have Sumire, who's a tank with AoE attacks, and she gets extra range and a revive from her skills. And finally we have Iris, who is first and foremost free. She's a surprisingly good healer despite being free, and she can teleport DPS units into position and boost their damage dealt. Finally, just the usual reminder about upcoming banners. Okay, so this banner came out a week early, which is a little bit surprising, and it means that next week's banner is more than likely going to be the Ares, Nomi, and Maya banner that we were supposed to get this week. If not, and that banner is getting shuffled around somewhere else, then we could also see the return of the classic recurring Destiny banner featuring Landius, Yulia, and Juglar instead, and they're all essential units. Either way, at the end of those 2 weeks, we're definitely getting the launch of the new characters Hilda and Werner. Hilda's the latest in a string of essential PvP units, so I hope your voucher and crystal stockpiles are healthy. Okay, so that's the Sakura Wars crossover banner. I hope you found this one helpful. This banner actually has the community kind of divided, from more veteran players who are kind of over these characters, and newer players who are happy to have another chance to snap the units up. Are you planning on summoning here, or are you going to take your free Iris and then hoard your vouchers for newer, fresher units over the next few weeks instead? I'm a collector, and I've always planned on summoning on this banner again when it came back. I did try to summon them the first time around, but off banners got me, so I didn't end up getting either of these characters. So as a collector, I am going to try to collect both of them. Hopefully it doesn't cost me too many vouchers, because I do want that guaranteed Destiny Nomi whenever she shows up. And obviously I'm going to want to have enough in the tank for Hilda. So I guess we'll see later on what happens with that summoning session. Fingers crossed, everyone. As always, thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next Should You Summon.